Okay, let's see if this thing works because last time apparently it didn't record. So hopefully somebody will get here and help me out to make sure that people can still hear me. I know I didn't mention that we were going to do this live today, but I felt the call to do so and I have a little time, so I wanted to take advantage of this time just so that I can go over something that I find exciting when it comes to the spirit realm. And I think you all know that I love the spirit realm and what happens on the other side of the spirit realm when people depart. I think it's important for us to go through that once again. I know that I have a lot of videos talking about the spirit realm and what happens and the hospitals that they have to go through, the work that they have to do, and so on. But I want to revisit this one more time because I do find it crucial. And this time I want to go over the other side. What happens to us, those that are left here, right? What happens to us when we lose someone that we love, someone that we care about, someone that we love spending time, even sometimes when we don't realize that we care that much and then they leave and we realize how much they meant to us. So and the reason why I wanted to do this live instead of the video is just so that it flows more natural, so that way I don't have to feel like am I saying the right thing, and you know how it is when you're doing a recording and sometimes it's just a mess. So grief, so let's talk about grief, such an intense and such a complex situation, right? It's a complex and very individual process that happens that affects all of us very, very differently. So your experience of grief is going to be so different than me and anybody else. Everybody is going to have a very unique, it's almost like a fingerprint. You know, the fingerprint, it only has everyone, no one in this planet is going to have the same fingerprint as you. It is the same thing with grief. We cannot expect how we handle grief to be the same way that our sister, mother, brother, husband, wife, neighbor, and so on, or work colleague, that they're going to go through the same process or similar. It can be extremely different. So it's very complex to talk about grief, but I'm going to try to do my best to go through what the different stages of grief and what happens on the other side of that to those that departed, right? So, and then why a lot of the time we think that we have gotten over the grief and it's been 10, 15 years later and we're like, oh my God. You know, I have clients all the time that they don't realize until they go through their session that they didn't grieve, that they try to skip steps so that they can feel better, so that they couldn't feel, or that they were trying to do it really fast for whatever reason. And they realize, oh, wow, I didn't really grieve. I didn't really process all these emotions and I suppressed so much. And when they get to a session, it's like, whoa, this is not what I expected because I thought that I was done. This is something that they say often. I thought I was done. So I'm all over the place because I'm trying to figure out how do I put it into simple steps where people can say, okay, I can understand that. So let's go through the what happens. The person, let's say somebody dies, a loved one, wife, husband, mother, father, sibling, boyfriend, friend, even our dogs, our cats, our pets. It can leave such an emptiness. It's like leaving, like a part of us left, and there is a hole there that we, no matter what we do, we cannot fill it in. So, and then later I'm going to talk about why that hole. So I'm not going to tell you that yet, but I want you to consider these feelings while we're talking about it, because I have a lot of clients that, you know, and today I was talking to one of them She just lost her mother. And to lose a mother is such a big part of us, right? But imagine also losing someone that you've been with for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, or having a pet that has been with you and gave you so much love and unconditional love, by the way, for so long, and you was always there, right? So it feels so deep and so intense that we don't think that we can ever get away from those feelings of emptiness because of the hole that they left, and what we feel within us that happened as a result of that experience, right? So I'm going to try to basically give you, I think a lot of people know, yes, we're going to go through denial, yes, we're going to go through anger, yes, we're going to go through depression, we're going to be, eventually we might even start negotiating, like, if I do this I can do that, and then, right? Or eventually we get to acceptance. So there is so many different, and it's not a straight line either, because sometimes it goes in this curve and you have no idea where you are sometimes, because it's very hard for someone to know I am at the bargaining stages. If I do this, then I'm going to be able to do this in order for me to be able to do X, Y, and Z with this person that left, or to feel what I felt when this person was here, right? So the bargaining is almost like when we're in pain, we're trying to figure out, how do I deal with this acceptance of this person that has left, but not knowing what changes can be made or should be made in order for us to be able to be okay. So there is guilt as well associated with the process of the different stages of what it means to go through the grief process. So, the denial, I think, is obvious. That's when we're feeling like numb. We are completely numb. We don't want to feel because it's too painful to feel the loss of that person. So we might go into being completely spaced out, or the opposite of being sorry, sad, laughing crazy because I have to replace that sadness with something, right? So the denial comes with a lot of dissociation of the event. The anger, obviously, is going to be, it is a natural expression of losing someone. And because it is important for the process of healing through the grief, sometimes people might feel guilty about feeling angry. Maybe the relationship wasn't perfect, but you're still angry about the fact that God, or a higher being, or higher power, or that person decided to check out. Because sometimes it could be through, and I'm sorry if I'm going to trigger anyone, it could be through suicide. So if somebody decides to check out themselves, that comes with a lot of anger, especially because you're angry at how could they not see that you were there for them? How could they not recognize that you were able to help them somehow? Or that they couldn't see that life was worth living because you and your family and whoever else is there, right? So it comes with a lot of feelings of how dare you, and why did you, or why did God do this to me, right? So there is a lot of anger that needs to be expressed. If we suppress that anger, it's going to take us more time, because it's almost like imagine a pile of chaos inside of you, and it's just crawling through your body the whole time during the whole process, because you're not expressing that anger. The bargaining stages, again, is that's like, let's see how we can compensate, like how we can, even though it might be hard to accept it, let's see how I can accept this, but at the same time, what can I do? For example, when when my uncle died, he died not too long ago, and we had a very strong spiritual connection. I mean, I love my uncles, but this specific uncle, I feel him. I mean, I just have such a strong connection with this person, and he died, and I had dreams and trances and experiences where I'm just feeling his energy, and I'm like, I love you, and I know he loves me, and it's such a beautiful connection. And in the spirit realm, he's doing a lot of work, and I had a conversation with him, and I like, why are you working so hard? He had to make up for some things that he did. And I said, well, why are you coming to me so often? Because it was getting a little crazy, where I started thinking maybe this is a trickster spirit, because why are you here all the time? Like, this is not normal. And some things became clear. This uncle of mine is trying to make up for things that he did in his earlier life here before he died. And in the spirit realm, he's also providing the services that he needs to provide in order for him to go through some of the ascension process that he needs to go through in order to release the karma. Let's call it karma, because that will be the easiest word that I can come up with right now, to balance things out. So this uncle of mine, he's busy. He is really busy. My uncle that died a year before he died, on the same day, a year before, by the way, he didn't, he was stuck. He was stuck in the astral plane. He did a lot of things that he shouldn't have done. And we have a very tight family. So, I felt him. I knew he was leaving. One of those relationships where we love him, but we know that he really effed up. Like, he had a second family. He forgot about the first family, even though we did, and he did, and he needed to make up for that. So he was really stuck. And my uncle that died a year later had to help all of us to pull him out from where the darkness that he was, because he was really in deep shit, if I can say that publicly. But anyways, the point is that my uncle that died a year ago, and then the other uncle that died recently, that we have this very strong spiritual connection, he's helping me in the spirit realm, and he's explaining things to me, and I'm communicating with him, and we're bouncing things back and forward, just like if he's here right now, like, and I realized something. When you talk about concepts, but sometimes you can understand it, you can even see it, you can be there, but when an experience happens that is so deep and so lucid, and you go into this experience, which is, let's call it, like, for example, a lot of people are going to understand what a lucid dream is, or a trance experience, or an experience where you're with your eyes open, but you're feeling and seeing things that are not of this realm, of this reality, this dimension. Then things make sense, right? So we were having this conversation about why people, after they pass, they have this intense need to know where their loved ones are within the process of seeing what happens after they die. And of course, I know this from many years ago, but something, it was like one moment for another, something was crystal clear. And it is this thing that when somebody's dying, they know beforehand that they're dying. They know sometimes weeks in advance. They can feel it. Their soul is trying to nudge them in the right direction, to make amends, to, sometimes it happens suddenly. They think it happens suddenly, but the spirit is already working on the goodbyes. If you go back to those that you have lost, you can pinpoint at one point they say something to you that later you were like, oh wow, they were really saying goodbye, or something within them knew that they were not going to be here for long, right? And it doesn't have to be through illnesses, because sometimes, obviously, when you have cancer or some type of illness, like, imminent death is coming, that transition is coming, you know that they know, right? So, but I'm talking about those that are more subtle, that comes out of nowhere. So anyways, we're having this conversation and he's like, well, you know this, his mother, my grandma who raised me, taught you all of this and you have seen it before, so why are you so surprised? And we're having this conversation like, like we're having this conversation right now. And I think I was surprised because even though we know that, for even for the people that are trying to do some intervene in their life and check out earlier, it's almost like a part of them already knows that they're checking out, so they might be putting things in order, saying goodbye, maybe saying something that they normally wouldn't have say, I love you. For a lot of people in the Caribbean, this is not something that they used to say, so they might say I love you, or you will, like if they have another wife and they have a kid living in the family, they might say, when I leave you have to take care of him. And they might say, of course I'm going to take care of him, because they're not thinking you leaving next week, right? Which definitely it was what happened anyway. So when somebody's leaving, they already have the part of the spirit already knows the transition is coming, and it can feel very sad, but there is a relief at the same time. So there are mixed feelings, and there is that deep sadness of not being able to, in the material space, in this reality, time and space, to be here with you, right? So there is a part that is sad. There is a part that feels relief, because that relief is like knowing that they're going, that there is no more suffering, or that is their time and they completed their mission. The part that is sad, though, stays around. It's almost like the different layers that we have, the different light bodies that we've been speaking on. Those are different bodies that are detaching at different times. And the physical body sometimes stays, the physical, the lower, most dense part of us stays around the longest to see what happens. And because it carries so much memory in all the experiences that we have had here as humans with the people that we're here, that we develop relationships, because we are relationship beings, right? It's interesting because when you go through a trance experience and you go through an ego death, it could be like, oh my God, I went through an ego death. But I can guarantee you, when you go through an ego death and you feel the people that you might be leaving behind, that ego death experience amplifies to the next 10th level. Because when you're dying by yourself and it's just an ego death because of you and that's it, there is a sort of honest in it. But when you are seeing yourself letting go of your daughter, sons, mothers, fathers, husband, wife, whoever, friends, work colleagues, your pets, it amplifies that feeling of lost. So from the person that is leaving, they are seeing what are the people feeling when they left, what are the things that they did or shouldn't have done, right? That part is trying to also stay with you, stay with, to see what's happening, right? To make sure that everybody's fine. It's trying to make, it's almost like it's trying to organize and make sure that everybody's good, everybody's okay, everybody's going to be okay. But in the middle of that, they can get lost if they stay too long. And this is why some people get lost in the spirit realm, in the astral realm, because they might be looking for someone that wasn't immediately in the group when you die, when they found the body or whatever. And they might be looking for those people that are alive here, but their bodies, their body that is in the astral realm only has so much energy, And once it consumes that energy, they need more energy, which is why sometimes they stay with a loved one or someone that was an enemy, if it was a death caused by an accident or on purpose. Those people might stay with them because they have a lot of energy, right? So that energy of anger, whatever it is that they were feeling when they were fighting and stuff, is going to make them adhere to them, to their field, to the auric field. So now you have someone stuck by accident or on purpose to someone that they don't even care, or that they love, but they got stuck without wanting to be stuck, because maybe they were trying to say goodbye and they hug you, and by hugging you and feeling your sadness, a part of them stays with you and it's not on purpose. This is very important because, sometimes when you are sleeping and you feel like, oh, I just felt my grandma, or I just felt my husband, that means that a part of them is still lingering around. So therefore, if you're going through those situations where you're actually feeling their energy, that means that maybe you kept a part of them too. It doesn't mean that they did it on purpose. Sometimes it happens because you were so attached to them that you keep a part of them in order for you to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. I'm not going to decipher that because that could be so many different things, right? So we have a situation where they're trying to go through their ascension process to move on, but your sadness, whatever feelings you're holding on to, the denial, they want to make sure when people are in denial from the other side, they want to make sure that you're going to be okay. Are they going to be okay without me? I just want them to know that everything is okay. I want them to be happy. But you, on the other side, you see that they're not happy. So you're just trying to tell them, please be happy, please be happy. And from the other side, the spirit is trying to tell you, you need to let go. You need to move on. It's okay. I'm okay. But this person here is having their own emotions and own situations, and we are keeping them longer here. So because they're disappearing, they don't have that much energy anymore. The longer that they stay in that realm, the more energy they lose. So they naturally going to have more energy. So when they get close to you, your auric field has a lot of power. So when they get close to you, they can have renewed energy to stay around and make sure that you're okay. That's one way to see it. The other way to see that is that they want to stay around because they want to F with you. If you were having friction, or if they die and their consciousness wasn't high and they were having issues with you, they might stay around to just mess with you. But most of the time, these people are going to stay around because they are worried that you are not okay. They want to make sure that you're going to be okay. They want to make sure that they're protecting you. They think that they are. They want to make sure that they give you messages, but you're not understanding because you're sad, you're depressed, you're going through your emotions. So there is so many things going on. So how this affects you though, when you have someone that you lost, in that moment that you find out that you lost that person, it's such a shock to you, especially if you care about this person. Imagine a part of your body. Have you seen the movie Doctor Strange, when the old one pushes him and his astral body goes back? That's exactly what happens to you when you lose someone. You're going to shock. Imagine someone hitting you like this, and a part of your body, of your light body, goes back or to the side. That part is still waiting for you there to say, come back to me, because sometimes it cannot come back because you're still in so much shock, and you might be running, you might be all over the place, and that part is still in shock, waiting. And because it's still waiting, is that part that needs to be rescued in order for you to be able to process everything that you need to process in a more compassionate way for yourself and those that you lost, in order for you to speed up the healing. It's not that you're going to do it in 2 days. I'm not saying that. But when you leave a part of you because of the shock, that part is going to create a lot of feelings of numbness because it's still in shock. It's frozen in time. So when you have a excuse me, when you have a session in this part, you rescue in this part, then we do a protocol in order for you to welcome this part back and with your wholeness be able to say goodbye to the person that you lost and see also where is the soul of that person when they die, because sometimes a piece of them also stays to the side because of the shock of living. So now you're integrating not only yourself but the part of your loved one that was still frozen in there that may now become its own thing. So you rescue multiple pieces in order for you to do the process of the grief in a more wholeness way, in a more, I don't even know if I have the right word, because it's almost like you're going through the process of what did you feel? What do they feel? Where is their soul? Where is your soul? So you're combining multiple pieces in order for you to do the experience of the grief and the loss in a more wholeness way, and then ask the person that is in the spirit realm or that already transitioned and may have left pieces to listen. You got to come back and pick these pieces that you left be here, because those pieces might be still trying to interact with me, and they might be freaking me out. They might be doing this, or they might be so sad that I can feel their sadness, and that's why I'm not healing fast enough, because it's been 2 years and I'm still going through the emotions of the depression, the loneliness, the anger, the denial, and so on. So obviously when somebody comes to a session, it's because they know, well, most of the time they don't know that they're still grieving. They think that they have, but we find that by going through the emotions, and then eventually they end up in that experience. When somebody comes for a grieving session, normally they know something is going on, because I'm just feeling them often. Something is going on, something supernatural is happening. This is not normal. And it gets to the point where they feel like, okay, I need to do something about this. So this is more spiritual, right? For most people that don't know that this is happening and they find it because of the emotions, they're going to go through the emotions of, I just have so much. I just feel like I'm not here. I don't feel my body. Something is wrong. I don't know where my body is. I just feel numb, like I dissociate. I go off and I cannot think straight. And eventually they go through the process and they go to one or multiple people that they have lost and realize every time I had lost someone, I have left someone. And it could be because of different fears of death and so on. So, anyways, what I want to make sure that you understand is that when the person transitioned, they are staying to check on you, to communicate with you, to give you messages, or because they're doing work. They might be doing work to make up for the things that they have done here. If they have that capacity, we cannot assume that everybody is doing that, because some people are communicating with you because they're lost, because they're confused, because they might think that they're still alive, because, and then if they think that they are alive, we go through the process of helping them understand that they're not alive, and we go through the regression of the spirit to see how they die, and what was going on at that time, and so on. So it is very healing for the spirit of the person as well as your spirit and yourself to go through a session like this, because different things are coming into place, and then eventually comes that peace and compassion and acceptance. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to take some days, but little by little you start feeling more energetic. You start feeling like, okay, I'm okay, everything is okay, everything happened for a reason. And you start going through that process of coaching yourself, doing sessions maybe or whatever, and then one day you realize, I'm here and it is okay, and I understand now, and so on, right? So it's almost like the whole energy calms down. It's a very subtle feeling for some people. For some other people can be extremely like, oh my god, I cannot believe this, I finally get it, right? And recognizing all of the stages is key, because when we're going through the coping mechanism, we need to be able to, if you cannot do this by yourself, which is why I'm doing this talk, you find people that are grief counselors. I think through insurance, people can do grief counseling. I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure if you can Google that, you can find the answers. So whether you do grief counseling traditionally or alternative through healings like the regression work or meditation or plant medicine, psychedelics, whatever you're doing, but you have to do something, because if you start feeling the interaction from the other side, it means that those people need help, or that they are helping you, and therefore they're going to need more awareness from you. For those that are spiritual and that have an altar, or that are working with the muertos, the misterios, or the disembodied energies and so on, they probably understand what I'm talking about. But basically, when those people are working in the spirit realm, in the astral planes, and they're working with you, and they have chosen you for whatever reason to work with them, you also have to communicate with them. You have to be able to do some, like whether it is a candle or water or something, just to give them the recognition, not only the recognition by your gratitude for the work that they're doing. That is energy, because everything is energy. So when you give them gratitude, when you put a candle, when you put water, when you do flowers that are very high frequency, it's almost like that's food for them. Now, one important thing that I see a lot of people do, and I made these mistakes when I was younger, is that, oh, well, they love alcohol, so I'm going to give them alcohol. No, we have to be careful with that. The reason why is because if you have someone that was an alcoholic and you give them alcohol, what's going to happen? Even in the spirit realm, that is going to confuse the crap out of them. It's going to energize them in a way that you probably don't want to, because they're going through detox. So how are we going to give them alcohol to someone that is going through detox? We have to give them something that is going to be, uplifting, that is going to have a high frequency, right? So like, just be careful with that, because I know a lot of people that reach out that are in different occult practices. They always like, I always put alcohol in this and that. Just a warning, especially if you have people that have those type of issues, or if I hope that makes sense. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So being patient with yourself, being kind, seeking help, seeking professional help sometimes, maybe even trying different plant medicine, or even psychedelic assisted therapy is very expensive, because like those programs with medical providers are going to cost you like $10,000. But if your insurance cover that, you might as well look for it, right? So there are different things that can be done. Now, if it gets to the point where the person has been there for a long time, and the person is not only on the outside of your auric field, but has penetrated and is now very much like blended with who you are. And blended, I mean like pre-possession, right? And I'm not saying that the person becomes you, but the person can influence your thoughts so much that sometimes you have a hard time distinguishing what are your thoughts and what are their thoughts, and it just becomes one. So you don't even know that they're there, because you think that they're your thoughts. So that's what I'm talking about. Like when the person is already in your mental field, you're gonna have to go through a spirit releasement therapy, because no magic is going to do that work. Even if you go to, I'm not going to talk about that, but even if you do a lot of plant medicine, and I have seen people that have done tons of plant medicine and they still have attachments, because it's already in their mental field, and sometimes it has been there for many lifetimes. So no magic, no spiritual bath is going to take care of that, unless it's on the outside of your auric field. If it's already in the inside, you're going to have to do spirit releasement therapy. And there is a very popular Theta Tata Jose, Tata Jose Ramos. He's a palero. He's in Palomonte. He's a Tata in Palomonte, and I really appreciated that he did a talk on spirit releasement therapy, because for a long time he was saying, hypnosis doesn't work. But then when it comes to spirit releasement therapy, he said, and he quoted William Baldwin, who is he's the doctor that created the manual for spirit releasement. Like it's a pretty good manual, and I have it. I mean, I have evolved from that manual, but I think it's a really good manual. If you want to read it, you can look it up. It's spirit releasement therapy. I'm trying to see if I have the book here. Spirit releasement therapy, and let me see if I have it, because I want to make sure that you guys can. Where is it? Spirit releasement therapy. Oh my goodness. No, I don't. Okay, well, I don't know where I put it. Should be somewhere, but it's William Baldwin, Spirit Releasement Therapy. He did the manual for spirit releasement therapy, and everybody that does spirit releasement has. He actually quoted Edith Fiores, who was one of the psychiatrists who then became a transpersonal therapist, because she found that with her clients that were dealing with schizophrenia, the therapy, that the conversations that she was having helped to release those entities that those people had. So then she became really involved in that and became a transpersonal hypnotherapist for many years. And she taught so many people, including a couple of my professors in spirit releasement therapy. And that manual, they use it all the time. I mean, if you look it up on Google, on Amazon, you're going to find it. It's worth the reading if you have lost someone and you want to learn more about that. In the dream regression training, I'm probably gonna touch a little bit about that, because sometimes what happens is in the dreams or nightmares, people might be seeing, may have been experiencing different things that are memories repressed, that had to do with the loss of the loved ones. So we might include, I think I probably will have to include something in regards to grief, because it's such a big part of the dreams and nightmares that sometimes we have in this, trance experiences. So I think it will be worth spending time on that for those that need that support, and that will want to work with other people in the training to do their own regressions and so on. So probably going to do that now that I'm saying it out loud, right? So I hope this, I mean, you can let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I hope this helps to understand a little bit more about the other side, like what happens on the other side. It's very gray on the other side. There are no colors. It's easy to get confused. It's so easy to get lost, which is why they need energy to be able, and they're so afraid of moving from where they are when they die, or their homes, because that's what they know the most, right? So they can find their way to home. But what happens is, when they're losing energy, it's so easy to get lost, because there is no time, there's no colors, everything can be a little grayish, and it's almost like trying to walk with your eyes closed, and you don't know where anything is besides your home, because you know where your bed is, you know where the bathroom is, similar to that. So when we think about what happens on the other side, when our loved ones, a lot of the time they're just waiting for us to say I'm okay, so that they can be okay moving on. And of course there are different sides to that story, because like I say, if they die because they took their life, they might have to go through I had a friend that committed suicide, and she was a mentor, and she just finished her PhD. This woman, she was such an angel, but she was very depressed. And when the night that she committed suicide, I ended up in the ER, and Anyways, it was a very complicated situation because I'm feeling the symptoms and all of that. And then the next day when I realized what happened, I'm like, oh my God. I kept seeing her in the apartment where she was, but everything was dark and she was in a constant loop. She was a foodie. We went to Cornell University together. She was there before me, and then she was my mentor. So she was going through those loops of the school, the university, serving and drinking wine with friends, and doing it all over. And for many different dreams, I was seeing the same loops, and I was trying to talk to her, and she wasn't listening until eventually she started paying a little attention. And the darkness became lighter until one day, it's lighter and lighter and lighter. But for months, it was very dark and gray. And these people are in a constant loop, especially if they take their lives. So they need a lot of energy of love, energy of knowing you have decided to move on, to transition, and you have to have those conversations. I had someone from Spain reach out to me. It was yesterday, and she's like, I have this client of mine. She's a trainer, and we are colleagues. And she's like, this client of mine from Ecuador, her cousin committed suicide, and the husband, who has the vision to see, sees that the cousin is in regret. He wishes that he didn't do what he did, but obviously he's on the other side now. So they wanted to know from my perspective what to do, etc., etc. And the only thing that he was saying, that the spirit, my spirit and his spirit were talking, was he needs the prayers that says, listen, we love you, but you have moved on, because he needed to understand you're no longer here. He's trapped thinking that he's here. So the person might be trapped thinking, why can they not hear me? Why? And because there's no time, they could be in that loop for a long time. For us, could be days, but for them, it seems like forever. Like, have you ever been in a dream where you like, I'm just so glad that I was done with that dream? It's like that. Like, it just feels like forever. And for them, it could, for us, could be just a couple of days. So the prayers that we do, and I'm not talking about prayers where you're just finding a book. I'm talking about prayers where you're saying, so and so, I'm calling you forward here to let you know that I love you, I miss you, la 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 la. But you have transitioned. For whatever reason, you're no longer here. We send you with the best intentions, so on. Whatever comes from your heart, right? You're helping them see they're okay. They get it. I can move on. That's all they need. And wherever they go, if they go to the next stage of that, they might have to go to hospital to heal. They might have to go through service work. Like imagine here when we do voluntary work or when we do internship, to know that we have mastered what we have learned in school, right? Or the medical internships, right? They have to do years of internships. So the same thing happens in the spirit realm. There are different levels, and depending on those levels, they might have to do voluntary work to show that they can assist different people to make up, because whatever those people that they're helping, whatever they're going to do to help others is going to balance out the things that they felt that were negative here. So all the things that are going to be positive are going to compensate for the little things or the big things that they did, and eventually they can continue to the next process and move on. So I'm going to leave it here for now. Thank you so much. Leave a comment, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.